So today we're going to move on to 1.3, adding rational numbers. Rational numbers are not integers. If you remember, integers are positive and negative whole numbers, okay? A rational number is not a whole number, so they can be fractions or decimals. So today we're going to be talking about how to add together fractions and decimals. We're still going to use the same rules that we had for integers. It's just a little bit different because it's with fractions and decimals. The first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to use a number line to find the sum. Remind me again, guys, if I have the word sum, am I adding, subtracting, multiplying, or dividing? I am going to be adding things together. Very good. So let's look at this first problem right here. Negative 1/7 plus 3/7. Let's just use the number line. The first thing I want you to do, if you would, is take your pencil, and I want you to put a little dot right here on the negative 1/7. And the reason why is because it starts with negative 1/7. Now, if I go to the left, anytime you are going in a left direction, that's a negative direction. If you're going to the right on a number line, that's the positive direction. So looking at this, if I am supposed to be adding 3/7, do you think I'm going to go to the left or to the right? Right. I am going to go to the right. So count with me 3/7. It's going to be 1/7, 2/7, 3/7. Where did I end up, class? I ended up here on the 2/7, okay? So the correct answer for negative 1/7 plus 3/7 is 2/7. Should I put the answer to the right or underneath it? Underneath. Good job. Let's go and put it underneath. And then what do I do to every answer? Let's box it in. Very good. Now let's say that I didn't have a number line and I just had a problem that looks like this. Remember, every number has a sign, and that sign is directly in front of that number. So I have negative 1/7 and positive 3/7. Is that the same sign or different sign? Different sign. Remember our song? Same sign, add and keep, different sign, subtract, okay? So I would take my 3/7 because it's bigger and minus 1/7. Guys, what's 3/7 minus 1/7? 2/7. And isn't that what we got for our answer right there? Okay, so this is, I'm just showing you right now how to do something on a number line. All right, I want you to take your pencil and erase so we can use our number line for problem B. All right, now we're going to look and focus on problem B. It says 1/7 minus 4/7. So we're going to go ahead and put our dot on, which one does it start on? 1/7. Put a dot on the 1/7. Now the next part here says me to take away 4/7. If I'm taking away or going in a negative direction, is that the left or the right? Left. It is the left. Very good. So now we're going to go to the left 4/7. 1/7, 2/7, 3/7, 4/7. What did I land on? 3/7. Not 3/7. What is it? Negative. Good job. Negative 3/7. Now let's go back to our rules, okay? So say you didn't have a number line and you had to just use the rules. Do I have the same sign or the different sign right there? Different sign. Here's why. Remember, every number has a sign and that sign is directly in front of that number. This would be a positive, but look at this sign. I know a lot of the times we say, but that's a minus sign. A minus sign means you're taking it away, which is a negative sign, okay? Every number has a sign, and that sign's directly in front of that number, so this is a negative. Because those are different, we're going to subtract. What is 4/7 minus 1/7? 3/7, and then take the sign of the larger number, which was a negative. And that's how you get that negative 3/7, okay? I want you to erase the number line and try problem C on your own. All right, as I looked around, I found two answers most commonly answered here. Either people got a 0 or they got negative 4/7. How many of you would say you got one of those answers for your answer? Okay, let me show you on the number line. Where should I start for this first one? Negative 2/7. So I'm going to start right here. And then it tells me to do what here? Subtract how many? 2/7. Subtract 2/7. If I'm subtracting, do I go left or do I go right? Left. 1, 2. Where do I end up? Not 4/7. Negative 4/7. So for those of you who put 0, you were probably thinking about a number and its opposite, right? But remember, every number has a sign, and that sign is directly in front of that number. What kind of numbers are both of them on problem C? They are both negative. So same sign, add and keep. We had to add the numbers and keep the sign. And if we did that, we would get negative 4/7. All right? Any questions on A, B, or C? Okay, let's go on to the next section. I would like you to pull out your red pen. Remember, red pens means it's super important. Now, you might be thinking, Ms. Forepaugh, we wrote this down yesterday. That means it's really important. We have a quiz coming up on Monday, and on Monday, it's going to be over these sections that we've been talking about, 1.1 through 1.4. This is one of the main ideas you want to make sure that you know for that quiz coming up. So please write it down with your red pen. All right, with this idea, we did have a song that we sang. If you guys would, please sing the song with me. How does it go? Same sign, add and keep, different sign, subtract. Take the sign of the larger number, then you'll be exact. Good job, okay? So hopefully that will help you on your quiz. Same sign, add the numbers, keep the sign. Different sign, subtract the numbers, and take the sign of the larger number. The next part, I want you to still keep that red pen out, and please write this down in the notes below. All right, let's say it together. Every number has a sign, and that sign is directly in front of that number. So just remember, if you had something like this, -3 minus 5, both of those would be considered a negative number because there's a negative directly in front of both of those numbers. Okay, so just remember that. Let's say that saying one last time. Every number has a sign, and that sign is directly in front of that number. All right, good job. Now I'm going to teach you another idea. This is a new idea today, eliminating double signs. So right here it says, when solving equations, integers will not be written using parentheses. We're going to try to get rid of parentheses instead of keeping them there. You need to understand the following rules in order to get rid of these parentheses. Adding a negative is going to be the same thing as subtracting it, okay? So this first part right here says 10 plus -4. That could be really confusing when you have a plus and a minus right next to it, and you think, I don't really know which one I'm supposed to be doing. Let's think about our rules first, and then I'm going to show you another way to think about this. Do I have these two as the same sign or a different sign? Different, good job. This is a positive and that's a negative. Because it's different signs, we have to subtract and take. So subtract, guys, what's 10 minus 4? 6. Take the sign of the larger number. What would it be? A positive, because that 10 is a positive. So your answer would be +6. I want you to box that in underneath it. Now I want to show you there is a different way that you can write it. And you have a little blank right here in your notes, okay? Basically, whenever you have a positive and a negative side by side, the negative sign will always win. So to help you think about this, think about if you get around a negative person, sometimes they just kind of make you start to feel crummy inside and you start to feel a little bit negative yourself. So negative signs always win. Here's what will happen. When you have a plus and a minus right next door to each other, you can always eliminate the plus because the negative sign will win. So I want you to take your pencil and actually scribble out that plus sign right there. Now, if I were to remove these parentheses that you see here, all that would be left would be 10 minus 4. I want you to write that in the blank there. Guys, help me to understand. What is 10 minus 4? 6. So you can see we did it a slightly different way, but we still got the same exact answer. Let's go on to the next problem to the right. 15 plus -5. We do not like to have these double signs right here next door to each other. Out of a plus and a minus, who always wins? The minus sign always wins. So we're going to take our pencils and scribble out that plus sign right there. And we are left with 15 minus 5. Class, what is 15 minus 5? 10. So just remember, when you have double signs side by side and it's a plus and a minus, the minus will always win. Now there's another idea. We talked about this yesterday. A double negative sign will always equal a positive. So this first example says 5 minus -6. We do not like to have double signs next to each other. So whenever we have double negative, we can turn it into a monster positive. So another way to write that to the right, you're going to write 5 plus 6. Just the girls, what is 5 plus 6? 11 is correct. Box that answer in. I want you to try the next one on your own and stand once you have it done. All right, as I walked around, I saw two different answers. Some people had a 20 and some people had a 0. Here's what I want you to remember. Double negative, what do I turn it into? A monster positive. So that actually means 10 plus 10. Guys, what's 10 plus 10? 20. So if you got a 0, I want you to erase that. Your correct answer should be 20. If you got that, give yourselves a round of applause. All right, nice work. Let's go ahead and flip our page to the next side. Okay, so back in 1.2, we talked about adding together integers. Today we're adding rational numbers. So we're going to add together some fractions for the first 4 parts, okay? Here it says negative 8/3 plus 5/6. What do I have to have before I'm allowed to add or subtract fractions ever? A common denominator. Do I have a common denominator? No. Out of a 3 and a 6, what should my common denominator be? 6. It should be a 6. You always go with the bigger number, okay? You got to find a number both of them can squeeze into. So a 3 can go into a 6, and a 6 can go into a 6. How would I turn this into 6? What do I have to multiply my denominator by? By the number 2. Very good. So with your pencil, I want you to put parentheses. Whenever you have a number next to parentheses, it means you're multiplying it. So 3 times 2. Now just think about in your family, if you have a brother or a sister and they get something special, do you feel sad if you don't get something special too? You do, okay? So you want your parents to be fair to you, right? So in this case, we've got to be fair. If the denominator gets to multiply by 2, what do I have to do to the numerator? Also multiply by 2. So you're going to put times 2. Remember, when we put it in parentheses next to another, that means to multiply. So at this time, we're going to try to figure out what the equivalent or equal fraction would be. Let's multiply this out. We know it's going to be a negative, so let's put the negative right there. What is 8 times 2 for the numerator? 16. What is 3 times 2 for the denominator? 6. Very good job. So now it's negative 16/6. Bring down your plus sign and bring down that last fraction, 5/6. Remember, every number has a sign, and that sign is directly in front of that number. I've got a negative, I've got a positive. Same sign or different sign? Remember our song, same sign, add and keep, different sign, subtract. So we are going to subtract the bigger number, 16 minus 5. What is 16/6 minus 5/6? 11/6. Now, remember the rule. Same sign, add and keep, different signs, subtract and take. So we've got to take the sign of the larger number. What was bigger, 16/6 or 5/6? 16/6. So is it going to be positive or negative? Negative. It is going to be a negative, and let's box that answer in. Any questions on problem A? Yes, ma'am. Why don't we... All right, so the question was asked, should we turn it into a proper, so it would be a mixed number? Only because it gave us something that started as improper. I'm okay if you leave it improper, but normally, if not, we would switch that to a mixed number. Okay, excellent question. Let's go on to problem B. I have some double signs side by side, a plus and a minus. Out of a positive and negative, who always wins? Negative always wins. So let's go ahead and get rid of that plus sign, and I'm going to rewrite this without those parentheses. Negative 1/2 minus 3/2. Do I have the same common denominator? Yes, thankfully I do. Do I have the same sign or different sign on these problems? Same sign. Add the numbers, keep the sign. What is 1/2 plus 3/2? 4/2. Okay, now keep the sign. What was the sign? Negative. It was a negative. Can this be reduced? Yes. 4/2 means 4 divided by 2. What is 4 divided by 2? It's not 1/2. Here's what I want to show you. You can reduce it by dividing by 2 on the top and dividing by 2 on the bottom. If you did that, what's 4 divided by 2? 2. What's 2 divided by 2? 1. And technically, what would that be? 2. Okay, so be careful. A lot of you guys were saying 1/2. You got to make sure it's 4 divided by 2, not 2 divided by 4. Okay? Now, is this answer going to be a positive or a negative? Positive. Look right there. We can't forget we had a negative there. Okay, so we technically should have probably put the negative right there so that we remember to keep the answer as a negative. Okay, let's go to the next one. Now I have this mixed number. If you remember, we don't really like having mixed numbers. We want to turn that into an improper fraction. So what you have to do, use your red pen just to help remind yourself. You're going to take this and multiply it. Okay, so put a little times there. This is just for your notes. You don't normally have to do it. You can do it in your head. So you're going to do 8 times 1. What is 8 times 1? 8. Very good. And then what do you have to do with that 3? You have to add it. So what's 8 times 1 plus 3? 11. Good job. So we're going to keep our negative, which was negative 11/8. What should I do with this part right here?
Keep it.
We're going to keep it, so let's bring it down. Plus 5/4. Do I need a common denominator?
Yes.
Yes, we do. What should my common denominator be? 8. So we've got to multiply this by 2 on top and on bottom. You might have to write kind of small to get this to fit in here. So I've got negative 11/8 plus, what does this turn into, class? 10/8. Very good. Now we're ready to get our answer. Looking at this, do I have the same sign or different sign?
Different.
Same sign, add and keep, different sign. Subtract. What is 11/8 minus 10/8? 1/8. Take the sign of the larger number. Is that going to be a positive or negative? Negative. So what's the final answer?
Negative 1/8.
Negative 1/8 is correct. Any questions? All right, let's move on to the next one. When you're looking at this problem right here, one's a whole number and one's a fraction. I want them both to be a fraction. So what can I put underneath the number 4 that won't change the value of it? A 1. Very good job. So I'm just going to put 4/1. Okay, now it's a fraction. But in order to add and subtract fractions, what do I need? A common denominator is correct. So what am I going to multiply this 1 by to get it to turn into a 2? Very good. Let's multiply it by 2. So if you guys would, remember, put parentheses right next to a number, and that means to multiply by 2. This now becomes, what is 4 times 2? 8. And what is 1 times 2? 2. So we've got 8/2. Now I have an interesting dilemma. I have double signs side by side. It's a plus and a minus. Who always wins? The minus always wins, so I can scribble that out, and I just say minus 7/2. Now, this looks like a normal, simple problem I would have had in elementary school. What is 8/2 minus 7/2? 1/2 is correct, and then let's box that in. Any questions on our fraction section? Okay, the next ones are going to be decimals. So let's look at these decimals. Same rules are still going to apply. I do see a double sign here. Who always wins? The minus. So take your pencil and I want you to erase that. Now we're going to get rid of those parentheses we see there. We'll just drop everything else down. 0.75. Now you can either leave the 0 there or it doesn't have to stay there if it's at the beginning. That's completely up to you. And then we're going to drop down our minus 1.5. Now remember, when adding and subtracting decimals, you want to make sure your decimal points line up, okay? So let's check this out. Same sign or different sign? Same sign. Add the numbers and keep the sign. So off to the side, I'm just going to go ahead and line up my decimal points, 0.75 plus 1.5. I need to put a placeholder right there. What number should I put there?
0.
Good job. Let's go ahead and put a 0 there. Let's add these together. Just the girls. 5 plus 0?
5.
7 plus 5?
12.
2 on bottom, 1 on top. Add those together, and what do you get?
2.25.
Very good. So we know the answer is 2.25, but let's go back to this original problem. Same sign, add the numbers, keep the sign. Should this be positive or negative?
Negative.
It is negative. Box that answer in. Very good job. Any questions on E? All right, let's go to F. Ellie, same sign or different sign? Different sign, so what should I do? Subtract. I'm going to go ahead and do my work over here on the side. Now this is kind of tricky. The 4 doesn't have a decimal point. Do you guys know where the imaginary decimal point is?
In front of me.
Not in front of it. It's always going to be behind it. So 4 point, and Ellie, what 2 numbers should I put as placeholders? 2 zeros is correct, all right? So she said it was different signs, and we're going to subtract. When you subtract that, Ellie, what do you get? You are correct. Okay, so I'm going to put my answer over here underneath the problem. And now, Ellie, you need to take the sign of the larger number. Was it positive or negative? It is negative, so the correct answer is negative 1.35. Excellent job. Is there anyone who would like to do the next one for me? All right, MJ. Let's start off with this first one. I've got double signs side by side, and we don't like that. So who wins?
Negative.
The negative always wins, so let's cross out that plus, and we're going to rewrite it without the parentheses. Drop down negative 3.3 and bring down minus 2.7. MJ, same sign or different sign?
Same sign.
Same sign. What do I have to do?
Add.
Add the numbers, keep the sign. So I'm going to just do it over here to the side. When you add those together, what do you get, MJ?
6.0.
Okay, very good. She got 6.0. Now, do I need that 0.0 part? No, it would mean the same thing if I just put a 6. Should I make my answer positive or negative?
Negative.
It should be negative. Why is it negative?
Because it's the same sign.
Same sign, add the numbers, keep the sign. Very good job. Let's go on to the next one. Help me with it, please, Reagan. I see double signs. Who wins?
A negative.
The negative wins. Cross out the plus sign. I'm going to rewrite it. I still have positive 1.65. In order to get rid of those parentheses, now I can just say minus 0.9. So off to the side, Reagan, we're going to go ahead and line up those decimal points. And we're going to put a placeholder at the back. Go ahead and subtract it for us. Very good job, 0.75. Now, take the sign of the larger number. Should this be a positive or a negative answer?
Negative.
Okay, why is it negative?
Because 1. Oh, no, it's positive.
It is positive. Why is it positive?
Because 1.65 is greater than.
You are correct. 1.65 is bigger than 0.9. Okay, any questions on that section of how to add together some decimals? Okay, let's talk about modeling real life. With modeling real life problems, it's kind of like problems you could use in real life, okay? So for this problem, I want us to remember the additive inverse rule. So if you would, in the blank with your red pen, go ahead and write down additive inverse in those blanks. So a couple days ago, we talked about this word inverse. Does anybody remember what inverse means? Jacoby, what do you think? It is a synonym for opposite. Very good job, okay? So if I said I have negative 10, what's the opposite or the inverse of negative 10, class?
Positive.
Positive 10. What does negative 10 plus 10 mean? Equal? 0. Let's say I had negative 50 plus 50. What does that equal? 0. Okay, let's say I had 30 and negative 30. What's that equal? 0. A number and its opposite always equals 0, okay? So let's look at this right here. This list shows 4 account transactions. So in a bank, do you guys know what it means to withdraw something? Take money out, okay? Do you know what it means to deposit? Put money in. So you can see whenever it's a deposit here, they have a negative, and whenever it's a deposit or with a withdrawal, it's a negative, and with a deposit, it's a positive, okay? So don't write this part down, but if I was trying to figure out all these transactions from July, I could say, okay, I have negative 40, positive 50, positive 75, negative 50. Now, this becomes kind of a long problem. There's a shortcut if I use the additive inverse rule. Remember, a number and its opposite always equals 0. Do you guys see any numbers and their opposite in those transactions? What number is it? 50, okay? So here's what I can actually do. Instead of putting all those things in there and trying to add them and subtract them and figure them out, I can take the 50 and the negative 50 and cancel them out, because a number and its opposite always equals 0. So take your pencil, and in that transaction, I want you to go ahead and cross them out. Now we are left with 2 things. Negative $40, I want you to write this down, and positive $75. Now that makes this problem so much easier for us to do because there's only 2 numbers since we eliminated 2 of them, okay? I want you to find the answer of how much money would be left over after the July transactions. All right, as I just heard, I see a lot of you either got $35 or negative $35. Okay, how many of you would say you got one of those? All right, let's remember our rules. Do I have the same signs here or different signs? So we want to subtract. So if you got 35, that was right, but take the sign of the larger number. Is the larger one positive or negative? Positive. So what's the answer going to be? Positive $35. That person would be happy to have $35 instead of owing negative $35. All right, for the next one, we've got a think, pair, share section. I'm going to have you work on these three. Now, listen, a lot of times they think, pair, share, they're almost identical to the problems that we did throughout our lesson, okay? Which also means on a quiz or a test, they look a lot like what your questions are going to look like on a quiz or a test, okay? So I want you to try to do these three problems on your own. All right, here we go. Let's look at our think, pair, share section and see how you guys did. First things first, you always have to have a common denominator. What's my common denominator going to be? 10. 10. So we're going to multiply by 2 on top and bottom. In order to get that, we'll drop down negative 7/10 plus, what did you get this one to be? 2/10 is correct. We see that there are different signs, so you have to subtract, and your answer is negative 5/10. Can you reduce that? Yes. So for now until the rest of your days, you will always have to reduce every single answer you have, so the final answer should be? Negative 1/2 is correct. If you got that, give me a whoop whoop. All right, good job. If you did not get that, erase what you put and fix it. All right, for the next one, I do see a double sign scenario here. Who always wins out of plus minus? Minus. The minus. So I'm going to get rid of that, and I'm going to rewrite it without those parentheses. Now, this one's real tricky. What is my common denominator? 12. A 12, okay? Because a 3 can't go into a 4, and a 4 can't go into a 3. So this is kind of a tricky one. We are going to try to turn both of these into 12s. So in order to get the 4 turned into a 12, I have to multiply it by the number 3. So I'm going to do times 3 on bottom and on top. But in order to get this one over here turned into a 12, what do I have to multiply that by? Times 4. Okay, so that's a little trickier than the other ones we've done before. How many of you would say you figured that out? Who would say it tripped you up? That's okay. Erase it and fix it if it did. So let's focus on this first one right here. When you multiply it out, you should have gotten negative 9/12. Bring down your minus sign. When you multiply this out, what should you have gotten? 4/12. So now you can see same sign, add and keep. Add the numbers. 9/12 plus 4/12 is add them. It's 13/12 and keep the negative. Just for today, I'm not going to make you guys switch that into a mixed number instead. I'll let you keep it improper today. Okay, if you didn't get it, erase it and fix it. Final problem. What did you guys get on number 3?
Negative 1.7.
All right, I heard negative 1.7 and regular 1.7. Because there are different signs, we are going to subtract them. When you subtract them, you should have gotten 1.7 and then take the sign of the larger number. What's the larger number?
4.3.
4.3, which was a positive, so your correct answer is going to be positive 1.7. Was there anybody who got 2 of the think, pair, shares correct? All right, not bad. Very good job today on lesson 1.3.